Ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask for your attention, I hope everyone enjoyed a beautiful breakfast, but we're going to get started with our program. If you weren't here last night, my name is Michael Carpenzano. I'd like to welcome you to the 30th Annual Illinois Crime Stoppers Training Conference here at the lovely Holiday Inn in Bolingbrook. I'd like to get started. We're going to go ahead and have the Bolingbrook Police Department Honor Guard, followed by the bagpipes and drums of the Emerald Society. Chicago Police Department lead us to start. Stacy Uwade to please come up and sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
I'm going to go ahead and lead in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hold guard. Face. Post colors.
Thank you again. That was the Bolingbrook Police Department Honor Guard and the bagpipes and drums of the Emerald Society Chicago Police Department. We want to thank them for coming out so early in the morning. All right, Pastor Paul Carlson is going to lead us in our invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious Lord, with full stomachs, we gather for this 30th annual Crime Stoppers Training Conference. Make us mindful of the hands that prepared our food and those who planted and harvested, and make us ever mindful of those who are hungry in our world. As we gather here from many locations, keep us ever mindful and grateful for the communities that we represent, this state of Illinois, and this great country in which we live and serve. As you have given us the opportunities to serve our communities through many ways to assist in stopping crime, we are ever mindful and grateful for those in our midst and in our communities who protect and serve. Keep our police vigilant, safe, and aware that they are appreciated. And now as we begin this 30th annual conference, be with us, enable us to be open to the opportunities to share and learn from one another and support one another in the work that Crime Stopper does to make our communities a safe place to live, work, and celebrate the life that you have given us. Amen.
Okay, we're going to have a short opening ceremony that's going to start in just a few seconds, but I do want to make sure that we thank not only our sponsors of today's conference, but a lot of the folks around the room who made today possible. So I'm gonna start with a few elected officials that have taken time out of their day to be with us this morning, and I know some of them may pop back in for different points of the conference. First and foremost, I want to announce DuPage Township Supervisor Bill Mayer. Thank you, Bill. I'm going to have this gentleman stand and wave for a few reasons. Mayor Roger Clare of the Village of Bolingbrook. While I'm talking about sponsors who made this possible, I do want to acknowledge both the Bolingbrook First Party and the Village of Bolingbrook. We're huge supporters, actually presenting sponsors of today's conference. They truly help make this possible and cover some of our costs, so we appreciate them doing that. Round of applause. I appreciate it. Okay, I want to go through some other sponsors that you may see around or maybe in the hallways. I'm going to start with ADT is out here. They came in at a sponsor. Russ Fletcher is out and around the room somewhere. Round of applause for ADT. Also, Arena Law Office as a sponsor. I don't know if Mary Helen's here, but she may be popping in for the conference. Round of applause for Arena Law Office. I'm going to give a few other thank yous to some individual folks and some groups that supported today. Naperville Crime Stoppers, Ed Custa Law, Senator Pat McGuire. I also want to thank, in big part, someone who sponsored our hospitality suite, the Bolingbrook Police Benevolent Society. A round of applause for them. There was a gentleman by the name of Jeff Clark who donated $100 to us. So thank you so much for your support. And then last night we had transportation to and from the Promenade Bolingbrook, and that was courtesy of Mario Moya over at Midwest Coach Limousine. So a round of applause for him. Some other thank yous I'm going to run through very quickly. The Range at 355, the Bolingbrook Golf Club, Ted's Montana Grill, Gordon Biersch, the fine folks here at the Holiday Inn and Suites, and our volunteers at Bolingbrook Community Television. I want to thank all of them for being out here and supporting. Okay, I'd like to introduce at this point our Crime Stoppers of Bolingbrook Board of Directors. So if I say your name and you're in the room, please stand. We'll start with our president, Janet Mullahan. Our vice president, Dan Toomey. I am the treasurer of Crime Stoppers of Bolingbrook. Round of applause for me. Our secretary, Pastor Paul Carlson. And I'm going to list through our directors as well. I know some of them are here with us today. We have Barb Pice, Bob Klein, Ruby Lofton, John Lofton, Charles Morrison, Amy Monahan, John Ivlow, Lieutenant Jeff Lockard, Sergeant Joe Brick, and Linnea Jaskowitz. Round of applause. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call up to start our official welcome presentation, Lauren Hamilton, President of the Illinois State Crime Stoppers.
Good morning. Is everybody as excited to be north of I-80 as I am? This is great. We were talking last night, Janet and the mayor this morning. This has been probably at least 15 years, maybe 20 years since we've been north of I-80. Look at the map up there, and we have so many groups up here that, again, I'm just excited to be here. And if you are too, give me a hell yes. Yes. I'm the most politically incorrect president this fine organization has ever had. Again, thank you to the Bolingbrook PD, Bolingbrook Honor Guard. Let's give them another round of applause for an amazing start to our program. Like Mike said, I'd like to thank Ruby Lofton, Janet, Mike, Pastor Paul, and all of the Bolingbrook Crime Stoppers that have made this possible, along with Naperville Crime Stoppers and all the volunteers. I think what an excellent example of community involvement and groups working together to bring this off. So thank you again for that. I don't know. This is a great weekend. You guys couldn't have picked a better weekend, because the one thing that you missed in the agenda is the after party tomorrow is at Addison and Clark. That's when my beloved New York Yankees would be downtown. So, yeah, whatever, you know. So, I feel better with this. You should feel better because it cuts down on all the glare on the cameras right now. Okay? I'd like to thank our out-of-state guests. This is just great. I met Rachel Young last night from Michigan at our conference. My friend Scott Abrams from Crime Stoppers USA, Racine, Wisconsin, is with us today. We have some new members or new groups forming. We have a member from the president of the newly formed Two Rivers Crime Stopper group in Greene, Jersey, and Calhoun counties with us. The state, Kathy Garr especially, has been working with them to get them started and off in the right spot. We also have a new group forming in Richland County that we're working with too. So some new groups before the end of the year. I'd also like to welcome and thank Julie Lopez for being with us today. She's the Region 7 Director for Crime Stoppers USA. A demanding position. She has 4 states, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. I know that because I spent 2 terms in that same position prior to Julie, and I know the demands on your schedule, and I thank you for taking part. Make sure you spend some time with Julie and see what direction Crime Stoppers USA is going as well. Yeah, Julie in the back row there. I'd like to thank the mayor. I had the opportunity back in March when we came up here to find out what a supportive and generous mayor you have, and got the opportunity to visit with him a little bit this morning. So thank you, Mayor, for all that you do for Crime Stoppers. along with your chief, Tom Ross. Where's Tom? Tom's out there to come up. And then finally, I'd like to thank my awesome board of directors. If you guys think that I send you emails after emails after emails, oh my God, my directors get it all the time. And I ask so much of my directors. If you're one of the state board, please stand up and be recognized. Thank them for their service. We have truly traveled the state in the last 2 years. As a state board, we have tried to get some partnerships with groups throughout the state. That's why you see some of the posters hanging in the rooms. Those are partnerships that we made with IDOT. Those posters will hang in all the rest stops in Illinois once they get back open, if again. We are partnering with the Illinois Volunteer Commission, some other groups in Illinois. So this board of directors is working 12 months out of the year, and I really appreciate everything that they do. And then finally, I'd like to give yourself a round of applause for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us north of I-80. Great job. I appreciate the dedication that you people give to your communities and show that by giving of your time to come this morning. If we can be, State Board, if we can be of any service to you, if we can come to one of your meetings, one of your events, please ask. We would be happy to do it. Sherman pays me mileage, so that's great. I can show up for everywhere. So again, thanks for coming this morning. And if you do nothing else from this conference, network with your peers in the room and grab ideas, good and bad. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, next up is our very own local president of our Crime Stoppers of Bolingbrook, Janet Mollahan. Round of applause.
Hi, welcome to Bolingbrook. I'd like to echo a lot of what Lauren has already said. If you noticed, we're not a really big program, but my daughter's got a plaque in her home that says, "I is small, but I is mighty." And I feel it's the board of Bolingbrook. I've been to many of these conferences, and is there any first-timers here? Well, there's some. With all the conferences I've been to, I don't think I've ever gone to one where I didn't come away with something. And just network. A lot of times you get more out of just networking than you do the sessions. Sessions are good. And just the network kind of just builds on that. But anyway, have a good time. Police are ready to serve you if you get in trouble. Just have a good time and welcome to Bolingbrook.
All right, in just a few seconds, we're going to have our Director of Public Safety here for the Village of Bolingbrook, Tom Ross, come up. I do want to give a big shout out, and I forgot to mention, I know Ruby mentioned it last night, but there's a lot of volunteers who were here very early yesterday and who've been working on this thing for, I don't know, it feels like a year, but whatever it's been. So I don't know if they're in here because I know a lot of them are helping out registration, but a round of applause for all the volunteers. Okay, let's have Tom Ross, Director of Public Safety for the Village of Bolingbrook, come up, please.
Good morning, and I'll add my name to the list of people welcoming you to Bolingbrook and to the 30th Annual State Conference. On behalf of Mayor Roger C. Clare, who you'll meet in a moment, our Village Clerk Carol Penning, the entire Board of Trustees, we're very glad that you're here. I am Tom Ross. I met a lot of you last night at the hospitality event. I know some of you headed out to our mall, but a lot of you headed out to Portillo's too. And hope you all had a good time driving around Bolingbrook. I'd like to introduce just for a second our Bolingbrook Police Department command staff and Sergeant Joe Brick and Officer Jim Burke, who are going to be here. If you guys could just stand for a second. If you need anything at all while you're here in Bolingbrook and you're here at the conference, please reach out to these folks. We're here to help you. Thanks. Bolingbrook is a young community, 52 years old, 76,000 people, 26 square miles. We're a small town with a lot of people. And because we have a lot of people, occasionally we do have crime. It's part of a police chief's job. But I'm happy to say, you know, we measure public satisfaction with the police department in a lot of different ways. But one of the ways that we measure it is in crime rate and numbers and data. And we're proud of the fact that for the last 11 years in a row, we've had decreases in crime. 2% last year, 30% over the last decade. And that's because of a lot of hard work. That's also because of Crime Stoppers. So we, as a police department, thank our Bolingbrook Crime Stoppers and the Crime Stoppers organization for helping us to do that. So thank you. And now it is my honor to introduce this morning's award recipient. Bolingbrook's Mayor Roger C. Clare has served 31 years as mayor and was just elected this past month to another 4-year term. His support for Crime Stoppers and for law enforcement in general has been unwavering. In fact, it's fair to say there would be no Bolingbrook Crime Stopper program if it were not for Mayor Clare. His early support and his vision is what brought us here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Mayor Roger C. Clare. The plaque says, in recognition of your support and leadership for the Crime Stopper program, this award is presented to the Honorable Roger C. Clare, Mayor of the Village of Bolingbrook, May 5th, 2017.
Thanks, Don. I hope that's for more than just writing a check. But if that's it, that's okay too. But already, thanks to the Crime Stoppers. Thanks for being here. I couldn't help but think while the bagpipers were performing that there was probably some Irish guy on the 3rd floor that closed the bar last night, was checking his pulse. Well, it's unfortunate. You normally associate bagpipers with unfortunate situations, but today, 8 of them. I didn't know how 8 bagpipers would sound in this room, but it actually wasn't bad at all. They can be loud, as you know. You mentioned Portillo's. The 3rd Portillo is out of, I think there's like 40 of them now around the country. The 3rd one was here in Bolingbrook. In fact, the one you were at, if you went there last night, that's the 3rd location. Their first location was about a half a block away, and then they moved across the street, and about 3 or 4 years ago, they moved to where they are now. And Dick Portillo is a good friend, an amazing businessman, much like our friend that has this company down the street, and you couldn't help but see their sign, WeatherTech. The floor mat guy right here in town. We got like 10 buildings now, and huge company for any community. Any community would love to have it. I'm going to talk about Crime Stoppers in a moment. I got to welcome you to Bolingbrook. We're 53 years old, 76,000 people, and I love to see the downstaters here. I was looking at your map. You know, I've been mayor 31 years, as mentioned. A lot of people think, wow, is that like a record? Well, the record's a guy that's a member of community here from Marion, Illinois. Bob, and I can't think of Bob's last name, been mayor 53 years. Not this cowboy. Well, first of all, I wouldn't be here that long, probably. But this Holiday Inn was built in 1987. It was our first hotel. So it's an old facility, but they do a great job with it. We have 10 hotels now, over about 1,000 rooms, and we think we're a great location. As Jerry Stillman, the gentleman that built this building, told me, location, location, location. He didn't create that term, but it's all about location. And with 55 and 355, I'm a downstater. I'm from Effingham. I see Effingham's also a member community. And I taught school in Decatur. I taught school at Eastern Illinois University, and then came north to make the big money. Didn't necessarily work out that way, but I tell people all the time, there is a world south of I-80. And for some of you, there's a world north of I-80 too. Not always a pleasant world, but we'd like to think ours is pretty pleasant, and that's why we promote this place for meetings just like this. The North Enders can get here relatively easy on expressways, and even the downstaters, you got 55, 57, 39, get you here in a quick area, and you don't have to deal with Chicago traffic. You don't have to deal with $300 a night rooms. You don't have to deal with $55 or $75 parking charge, or worried about your car being on blocks when you come out. So that's why we think we're a great place to be. We've been named as one of the top 10 places to live by Crane Chicago Business and other major Chicago magazines. We think it's a fabulous place. It's an extremely diverse community, and we support all things we can. We support our police department very heavily. I think this is gorgeous over here. I support the police. That's a beautiful wreath, and I think one of you guys ought to grab that before we get out of here. Ken. By the way, Ken wants that gnome. It's a gnome, isn't it? Don't let him get it cheap. He's got a couple of bucks in his pocket, so I know he'll go higher. He will take that gnome out of here, regardless of the cost. So make him bid on it. Don't let him get it cheap. Anyway, Crime Stoppers is a great organization. When the idea came up, absolutely, we were behind it. I tell people all the time, and you know, as a mayor in the door knocking campaigns we recently did, and over the years at different functions, people say, we need more police. I never see a squad car. Well, depending on who it is, sometimes they say, what do you sit out on your front step and watch? I mean, first of all, police cars drive by. It's a matter of seconds. Our police cars are on every street every day, and when people say they never see a police, I don't get that. But I do tell people, if you're worried about police, your eyes and ears are what make this town work. You see something, say something. And of course, the next natural step is after you see something, you say something, you pick up the phone and call Crime Stoppers. I'm told we get 50 to 60 calls a year. It does solve crimes, and crime is a problem everywhere. We have crime, as the chief said, but our crime's right in the middle of the pack. We're very proud of what our police department does through very great law enforcement, and we're very proud of our residents who step up and help us with Crime Stoppers. So I think it's a great program, and we'll do what we can to keep it going. As far as the comment a moment ago about the sessions and so forth, you're right. I've been to 1,000 meetings like this. The speakers are great, but a lot of the interaction before the meetings, after the meetings, and the cocktail parties, and the Q&A sessions are really where it's at. So I hope you enjoy your stay here in Bolingbrook. You're welcome back anytime. And again, as stated, if you see any of these gentlemen got a question, don't hesitate to ask. We'll do what we can to make sure your trip here is enjoyable. Enjoy our mall, spend some bucks. Go to play golf. We got a beautiful golf course. We got a beautiful hospital, although I hope you don't have to see it. That's where a drive-by is appropriate. Anyway, thanks so much for the award. I will be hanging this proudly in my office. And again, if you see something, say something. You all know that, and then pick up the number and call Crime Stoppers. Thank you. Oh, and thanks to our local people that serve on the Crime Stoppers board. I know it's an annual stipend of $5,000. We'd like to raise that. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Well, my wife's in the room, and she didn't know that this was a paid position, so now she's going to hold me to it. Mayor Claire, thank you so much. Thank you for your involvement with Crime Stoppers here locally, and everyone around this table and more. It's truly a blessing. I got on the board, I don't know, what it's been, maybe a year or so, maybe not even. And I will tell you, I was super impressed. So obviously we're a nonprofit organization. We're not a village entity or anything, but the liaisons that we have that come to our meetings, sit in our meetings, listen to what we have going on, and to be involved in the community means a lot. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the police department. It means a tremendous amount. Even Tom Ross coming out there in his busy schedule to attend conference meetings was very impressive. So thank you. All right, we are going to actually kick off some of our panel discussions. This is our, I guess we're calling it our Crime Stoppers 101 panel. We have Dawn Coyne from Champaign Crime Stoppers, all the way on the end. We have Gary Allen, is that correct? Allen's fine. Allen with the Christian County Crime Stoppers. And then we have, Kathy, pronounce your last name? Gar. Macoupin and Montgomery. Well, it's fantastic. With both.
Janet and her team for having me here, and for Lauren for being a great president for the whole state. So just a few years ago, I really didn't know what Crime Stoppers was. Not even sure I really heard about what Crime Stoppers was. My degree is in horticulture. For 25 years, I had a great career managing garden centers. Had my own business for about 18 years while I raised my kids and taught landscape design classes and did consulting and designing. And then on July 9, 2011, my husband and our 3 kids were up north in Michigan on vacation, and we got the devastating phone call that my father-in-law had been murdered in Flint. And somebody came into his house and shot him while he was sleeping. Of course, it should be solved in 24 hours like it is on TV, right? And the police would be great. Well, they're busy working on the cases, and they're not really, they don't all have the bedside manner that doctors are supposed to have. They're busy trying to solve the case. So we were at a loss. We didn't know what to do. I'd never worked with law enforcement before. I've never dealt with law enforcement at all. And so we didn't know what to do after a couple of days. They weren't really saying anything to us. And then after a couple of weeks, still had gone unsolved, and we didn't know what to do. So I reached out to a friend of mine who was in the Detroit media. That's because I live closer to Detroit than I do to Flint. Not necessarily. I'm in the viewing area for the media. So I knew a friend who was an anchor at Fox 2 Detroit, and I'm like, I don't know what to do to get this on, to get information out to the community. How do I do this so we can help the police get this solved? And he said, you need to call Crime Stoppers. Okay, I don't know anything about that, but all right, let's do this. They put it on TV, but Flint has a different media outlet, so I had to get it on their TV. So fast forward 2.5 years, still it's not solved. I'm still working with it, got to know all the media, got to know the police up there, and I said, all right, I need to help the other families that are going through the same thing that my family's going through. So it took a year. I finally got hired by Crime Stoppers because I wanted to change my career and really put this in. So we have to do a lot more fundraising. You know, a lot of the Crime Stoppers programs have someone from the police department was incorporated into their rate of pay. So anyway, I ended up working with the Detroit branch chapter of Crime Stoppers for 2 years. And then I actually broke away from them and started our own chapter last year. So we've got our own 501c3 in Flint with our own board of directors. And then a year ago, I also saw the awesome passion throughout the United States, and I wanted to become part of that team also. So that's how I became the regional director for Crime Stoppers USA. The whole board of directors for USA, like all the others, it's all a volunteer position. So it is time consuming, but the networking, that is the main thing that I find the most valuable with all of these conventions, and even throughout the rest of the year, anytime you pick up the phone and want to talk Crime Stoppers to another Crime Stopper, they're excited about it and they're going to help you, no matter what state that you're in. So for Crime Stoppers USA, to become a member of Crime Stoppers USA, the average dues for a program is $200. There's no more than $300, which is it all depends on your population. So, and for that small amount of a membership due, we think that there are several benefits. Like I said, the first one I think is the most important is the networking. I have a lot of questions. I'm a civilian, so I need help with the law enforcement people that are involved with Crime Stoppers. And so that, like I said, anytime I text or pick up the phone and I get the help I need. The other thing that is an excellent benefit to being a member is the legal guidance with retired Judge Carter. He's the only one that receives a small, for what he does, it's not a lot of money, but we do have him on for a small fee, but it's worth it. And you get general counsel with him, and same thing, if you need any legal advice, he's going to be general counsel. He's not going to take your case on, but he is there for you to ask questions. I've used him with confidential things that wasn't comfortable talking about with someone locally because it's very confidential, and I can't go into the whole thing, but basically he did a fantastic job for me, even in particular. The other thing that I find is an excellent benefit for being a USA member is the name recognition. I know my board loves the fact that I can put the Crime Stoppers USA logo on my business card or on our website, on our Facebook, that we are a CSUSA member. We receive discount training fees at the annual convention, and also there are training sessions throughout the year, and there's webinars that we've got going on that you have to be a paying member to be included in these. And they're 1 hour webinars that you can, or anyone on your board, your coordinator can participate in these. They're on fundraising. Scott Abrams did one on how to keep your 501c3 safe with the tax codes and everything like that. So we've got those throughout the year. You have access, most people have their own Crime Stoppers tip line, but you do have access to use the 1-800-222-TIPS. Also, there are discounted rates available through CSUSA. It's on our website, but there's the contact information is up and running, but the links aren't working at this moment. I checked them this morning. But for insurance for your board of directors and officers and general liability. So if anybody doesn't have insurance for their programs, look into it. You want to make sure that you're covered. You also have voting privileges for CSUSA board of directors in the bylaw changes or any bylaws. There's a members access only tab on the website that gives you information that we've had on there for years. Excellent information to keep your program within best practices. We're also working on something exciting. It's taking a while, you know how legislation goes, but we're working on getting something passed so that we potentially can bring some funds in for smaller programs for rewards. So it's being worked on, and that it's not really being advertised anywhere because you don't want to make promises, but Crime Stoppers USA is working on that for you. So, like I said, for the small amount of dues, I think it's important to be part of this team. I love this team, and if anybody has any questions about anything, let me know. I'm here all day today and tomorrow.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sergeant Alan Mills. I've been with the Taylorville Police Department almost 14 years. I've been the coordinator for Crime Stoppers for almost 10. And I guess what I'll talk about is what I consider the important part of the relationship between the police department and civilian that makes up Crime Stoppers. For those of you who are in law enforcement out there, and I recognize a few of you because I know you, because I can tell what cops look like a lot of times when they're sitting around. Sometimes when you get programs or ideas your chief has or positions that open up like this, it becomes more an assignment instead of something you go after. We all know that when some kind of new responsibility like a coordinator comes in, a lower guy may get it just because the other guys don't want to deal with the headache and hassle of it. Where I grew up out in Taylorville, which is about 30 miles between Decatur and Springfield, I got to see former Sheriff Neil Williamson do his Crime Stoppers gig on TV and on the radio, and that was my first inkling of how the Crime Stoppers program worked. Our program locally was set up a couple years after Sangamon County's was. And in my time with the Taylorville Police Department, our town's only 12,000 people. Fortunately, I'm not dealing with some of the crimes that you guys are dealing with in the bigger departments. Some of the problems that you guys have. We have our drug problems, we have our stuff too, but nothing like you guys are dealing with. But what I have learned, even for a department our size, a county our size, is that there's been crimes we needed to solve, wanted people we needed to hunt down, and we were just a little short on the information to get there. Just a little bit short. And a matter of fact, in the past week, getting ready to come up here, we had 4 wanted people called in over the past week and all caught because it came through Crime Stoppers. And these were people we were aware of, we dealt with. It wasn't like they were off our radar, but we just didn't know where they were hiding out at. And what we gave was information to the officers. They were able to use that to hunt down, and rewards are going to be paid out when we come up and vote in the meetings there, Bill. for these wanted people that we would have known where they were at, what they were up to next in our town. So if it works like that for a program our size, then it's got to work on a better scale for the bigger programs. And as some of you may or may not know, there's been some issue with the public and the police lately. You might have read it, seen it somewhere out there, where a lot of the civilians don't understand what goes on in law enforcement, and a lot of the law enforcement people think that civilians don't understand what they're going through. With Crime Stoppers, the board I've worked with for 10 years, they're good people. They're business leaders. They're people, they're the good folk, the important people of our town and our county. And working with them, getting a chance to both peek on the inside of how their board works and how the police department works has been really important. And I think where I am at Crime Stoppers, we go out to events. I go out to local festivals, parades, that kind of thing, and I speak at public groups and talk about the interaction between police and civilian that makes Crime Stoppers work. And I think that over the years, and 30 years of our programs here meeting for conventions, has shown that this is a successful idea, that civilians and police can work together for a common goal to solve some of these crimes. Like she spoke about, there's crimes out there that need to be solved, and there's one person, for whatever reason, has the information. Now they want to give the information because they're a good citizen, a good Christian, whatever phrase you want to use to it, then so be it. It gives them an opportunity to do so. If they want to give it because they want to rat out somebody else that they're doing drug business against, and that gets us information to buzz somebody, I'll take it. If they're doing it because they're a mad ex and they got a bone to pick against the other person, again, we'll use it. And I say all three of those scenarios because all three have come in through the Crime Stoppers hotline. And I want to say that I've been involved with it 10 years, which is, I think, kind of a long time for a coordinator to be involved with the program. And I don't do it because I get anything extra. I only get 3 hours a month that I get to work exclusively on Crime Stoppers just because of our personnel issues, the things I got to do as a sergeant. But it's important to me because I've seen how successful it's been for us. I've seen how much time the board members have put in on our board for nothing to get this program to go. And I've talked to people, and they're glad to have that program for a county our size. And that's why I think it's important. And I hope the police officers out there and the ones you go back and talk to the department realize that whoever's going to be the next coordinator in your department takes it seriously and understands that it's important. And it's not just one of the assignments that the chief throws on you at the last minute because they need somebody to fill space. I've got those other assignments that I can put on my business card too, but Crime Stoppers is an important one that's near and dear to my heart. And I get to see down there in Taylorville, we don't have a lot of media. We got radio stations, a few small town newspapers, but they've been very important in making Crime Stoppers' message able to get out to the people. Because for us, since we don't have a local television station, they listen to the radio. They read the daily newspaper every day. Newspaper provides us space in there anytime we need it, advertising every day for free. We get commercial time on the radio station, and it's 3 or 4 country music, talk, classic rock, that kind of thing, all on there free of charge, where you get to hear my less than great radio voice give the crime of the week. And they do that because they believe in it, and it's an important partnership with the media we have. And I get to watch TV and see Decatur, Springfield, listen to the radio and see them out there. So if it's hitting me, it's hitting your guys' thing too. And I'll close up the long-winded speech thing here by saying that I believe that Crime Stoppers is an important tool for law enforcement to use. And I appreciate we have it out there, and I hope that law enforcement agencies that are working with you guys appreciate what you're doing to give them that tool they may need to solve a crime. Thank you.
With Macomb Montgomery County Crime Stoppers, and everybody's touched on a few very viable points. One thing I want to do first is invite you all to our golf outing from Macomb Montgomery. It's the first Friday in June every year. So we do that, and we have a trivia night in November. Always the same day. We usually make quite a bit. We've been around since 1991, and Williams has helped set us up, as you mentioned. We average about 30 to 40 calls a quarter. And last year in 2016, we had 103 calls that were drug related. All drug related. And there were some arrests. And like Alan said, it's successful. We've actually seen it. We had a armed robbery, or a bank robbery in Raymond, in Montgomery County. Some of you know me, I used to be a radio news person, so the microphones don't scare me. But we've actually seen it work. We had an armed robbery, or a robbery in Raymond at a bank, and we got the message out very quick through social TV, and within hours we had probably about 20 calls in on this. And the tipster that actually got the reward was the tattoo artist of the guy that robbed the bank. He goes, I have his ID right here. We had, but within a half an hour we had, by the time the word got out on Facebook and on social media, we had an arrest made. So it is successful, and that's why I really am gung-ho about it. Paul said everything. Didn't leave much for me up. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you guys find that social media is a huge help with Crime Stoppers?
Yes. Yes. Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Why do you say that?
Because traditional media, like I spoke of with the radio stations, newspapers, hit an older demographic sometimes, but young people, me included, you're going to be checking Facebook or your website, and that's the way not only young, a lot of people communicate. So just like when they started with having the little blurbs in the paper and everything, you have to move with the times, and that's where it's going. And like she said with the armed robbery in Raymond, which is not too far from where I'm at, they got that out there, they got it in the news, the Facebook, that's where people saw it.
I've been an investigator for 40 years, and I think that social media and Facebook is probably one of the best tools I've got. Because people are stupid. They want to tell everything. And they do tell everything. It's just amazing what the stuff they put on there, you know. I get mad at people because they'll put things about their children on there. What are you doing? Put your kids out there for the whole world to see, you know.
Well, just like you'll see, and maybe people have known people like this, they'll take a picture, leaving our house to go on our trip to Florida, be gone 2 weeks. But just like that, you'll have some nitwits brag about something like the armed robbery or some burglary, where they're saying, look what I bought when I got into here, and not thinking about it, that their friends will see it, not thinking about the little tree of their friends see it, other people see it, then we get to see it. And I'm glad, because I don't want them to be all like those comic book Lex Luthor type supervillains to try to outsmart us. So when they do something stupid, I'm glad to pick up on it.
And one thing that was mentioned earlier about networking, we're a family of Crime Stoppers. I've worked with Mike on some things, and I've worked with Alan on some things in Cook County with his neighbor. We actually were able to catch somebody that was trying to get reward from the county. The same tip. So we work together. It's like it's Crime Stoppers.
I'll go ahead and talk just a little bit about, I've been a member of Crime Stoppers since 2008. Most of you know Troy Daniels. He approached me about this, serving on this board, and I thought, wow, that's an interesting idea, and I have a lot of passion for Crime Stoppers because I actually didn't know anything about Crime Stoppers until Troy approached me, and I had grown up in the Champaign County area, a townie as they call us there. So when Troy approached me, I was kind of taken aback because it was about 2 years before that I had a situation where I could have used Crime Stoppers, and growing up in that area and not knowing anything about it, it immediately made me think that if I could help someone else stay anonymous like I wasn't able to a couple years before that, then I would do my job with Crime Stoppers. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what happened. I had known about a large drug deal that was going to happen actually in Seattle, Washington. And I had gone to the police department in Champaign, and at the urging of my attorney, because I had told her about it, and I had gone to them and I talked to the narcotics officers there about what was going to happen, because the drugs were going to come back to the Champaign area. And I knew about everything, where they were staying, everything. And I had never touched a drug before that, didn't know anything about it. So I was like, I got to go tell somebody, you know. And so I talked to them, and I told Troy this too. They didn't seem too concerned. So I was kind of upset. So I didn't know what to do, so I ended up calling out to the Seattle area to some investigators out there, and got on the phone with them and just told them what I knew. And after that, they didn't end up being caught with the drugs. They ended up being caught with about $26,000 of cash that was seized. And I was found out because of phone records. Somebody had gone back through my own phone records and found out that I had called a number in Washington, called it, found out it was an investigator's number, and figured out what had happened. And that was pretty scary, because drug dealers, you take their money, they definitely don't like that. And I had a toddler son at the time, so I didn't know. I was just trying to do what was right, you know. And so when Troy had approached me about Crime Stoppers, I'm like, gosh, why did I not know about this earlier? Why was this not in my school? Why was this not everywhere? And I'm sure it was. It just wasn't. I mean, I was probably 22 at the time, I think. So I didn't know. And that was one of the main things, is getting into the schools, you know, is really important to me locally, because I never felt like it was in my school around me. And, you know, I just getting the word out to everybody. So I'll talk a little bit about board makeup. So like I said, I've been on the board since 2008. I started as a board member, went to being a treasurer, and now I'm the vice president of the Champaign County Crime Stoppers. I also serve on the state board, as you guys know, and I'm also a regional director for Crime Stoppers USA as well, just a different region than here. So I cover Wyoming, Montana, and I can't remember the other state right now. I just call all kinds of people over there, so and network with them as well. So I chose to do that because I wanted to be involved in Crime Stoppers USA, because I have such a passion for Crime Stoppers, and that was my way to be involved and help other you know, states, and it helps us as well, because I'm able to talk to these other states and bring things back to this area, you know, something that they might be doing over there. So. But board makeup and board involvement is so important, and the way that we kind of changed ours a little bit, it's been about 6 or 7 years. We started making committees on our board, which has really helped us. We have a large board. We have about 30 people on our board, which is quite large, I'm finding out. And there was a time where it was really hard to get people to actually do things. They didn't know what to do, so they just kind of sat back and watched. And one of the things that we changed was a committee structure. And so we have a technology committee, and they take care of all of our social media, our websites. And we found somebody within our board that's really good with technology. He's actually the City of Champaign's technology director, so it works out great. He's able to come in and help us with things that he already knows, and he leads that committee very well. We have a marketing committee, so they take care of all of our swag items, you know, making sure that we're out there with press releases for our events, those kind of things. We have a bylaws committee, somebody that's looking at our bylaws every year, you know. That committee structure has helped us so much, because people, they take ownership when you give them a piece, you know. And so I think that's been really helpful to our board. I don't know, I'm sure other boards do it that way, but that's just something that's been really beneficial to us. So does anybody have any questions for us? I don't know. The other piece of it, I guess, that's really important, anonymity, obviously. So that's the cornerstone of our program, and so every single thing that we do, we are double and triple checking to make sure that there is no hole to where someone could possibly find out something about that tipster. That's our constant goal, obviously, with Crime Stoppers. So, you know, scrubbing the phone lines, using the phone or using P3 or TipSoft to make sure that when those tips are coming in through those lines of, you know, the website or the text or the app, whatever you're using, that it is scrubbed, it is safe. So.
One thing I might add, Bill wanted me to share a story that I told him in Mike last night. To re-emphasize what he said, social media, honest to God, if you guys have a social media page, a Facebook page, or whatever, and I don't want to get too much into this because Julie is in her part of the program, but if you have a page and you put up something maybe once every 2 weeks, you don't really have a page. I mean, constantly put stuff up there. If it's not a crime of the week, if it's not a most wanted, put up crime prevention tips. Just keep your Facebook page active. But locally, I'm the coordinator for Morgan Scott County, and I'm kind of like the John McClane coordinator. I've had 3 police chiefs retire in 10 years because they think I raised their blood pressure. That's the envelope. If I don't have a great looking picture of somebody, I will go on Facebook, grab their picture, and take it off and put it on there. Now, if they're with their kids or whatever, I would crop their kids out, okay, and just use those. I caught one individual, like you said, people are stupid. I catch one person because he put up his real picture, his real name on Match.com, and I made a date with him. The one that I get a lot, because I like to poke, well, the chief says I poke the bear. That's his comment for me with city council too, but that's a whole other conference on it. So anyway, I get the wanted people and the people that committed the crime to message me back a lot. I get to talk to these people. And I guess about 2 weeks ago, I profiled a young woman who, within an hour of profiling her, she sent me a message, and she said, I want you to take that off of your Facebook page. It's disgraceful and distasteful. I'm like, well, okay, here's how it works. If you turn yourself in, I will take it down. But if you make us chase you for 2 or 3 days, if you make us pay a reward, that's never going to come down. I'm just going to plaster arrested across your face. And you're going to stay up there forever. Well, she's like, I'm not even in Jacksonville. I said, that's fine. Go to your local closest law enforcement agency and they'll take care of the cat fare for you to bring you back. So then I got, what was the next response? Well, that's not even a good picture of it. Okay, again, send me your own picture, I'll put it up there. Whatever you like. And then finally, we put up last known address, and she said, well, that's not even my address. I haven't lived there for 6 months. Well, if we knew your present address, okay, you wouldn't be on here. But the other goal was that she said I messed up, and I really did mess up. And for all the coordinators, this might be a good idea. I added 10 years to her age. So that was an honest mistake, but honest to God, if you've got a female 1099, make them older than what they are, and they will contact you to correct that right now. At any rate, I stalked her on Facebook, and you guys, you don't understand, many groups don't understand the camaraderie and the working for a common goal that you have. If I get a tip that a person is outside my area, I'll contact that sheriff's department, that police agency, that Crime Stopper group, whoever, because everybody has Facebook pages now, and they will put your information up on their page. Long story short, Mattoon put this young gal up on their page. I read on her page that she was probably in Mattoon. Gave that to Mattoon PD, they put it up on Coles County and theirs, and they picked her up and they provided transportation back to Jacksonville for her. But, so yeah, it works. It works amazing. You wouldn't believe it. The only other thing, I couldn't resist, so about 4 days later after I knew she was arrested, I can't help myself. Okay. I had to message her and say, hey, by the way, did you ever get arrested? She answered me back. Yes, I just bonded out last night or what. But yeah, if you're not using social media, and you'll talk about it, I'm sure, it's just, you have story after story after story of success.
Just a comment on Facebook for Bolingbrook things, but everything anybody, any other anything that any other Crime Stopper program posted, they're looking for somebody. I'll put it on ours because the site is so mobile that who knows where these people are, and somebody just might go and call. And also a question on social media. Is there one that seems to work better than others? I know a lot of the millennials and stuff are using Twitter and Instagram rather than Facebook.
Facebook is most popular, but you can look at the age range that we have in this room. Facebook is a little bit more popular for all of us, but in Flint, we have a pretty good following, but also my police department, and there's another, it's their own organization, Flint Police Operations, just some civilians that have gotten together to do this, and they have like well over 100,000 followers, and they'll share my posts. So that is probably the biggest for mine. I use Twitter as a news feed, and I use Facebook otherwise. Personally, I have not been using Instagram very much. Well, Snapchat, yeah, Snapchat's for the younger, and then I was talking to my kids, I'm like, all right, listen, tell me what Crime Stoppers would do with Snapchat, and we went through this whole thing, and it's a little tricky with Snapchat because it doesn't stay on for very long, and but as far as like the criminals in my area, they really are looking at Facebook, and like Lauren was saying, we've got success story after success story. Just a couple of days ago, I think it was Wednesday, the Michigan State Police fugitive team asked me to put out this picture of this young lady who is a heroin user and well known in the community apparently, but she only had a probation violation, felony, but she was wanted for questioning in a homicide. And we weren't going to put any details out there. The media contacted me about it. I wasn't going to say anything except that. I only say what law enforcement tells me I can say. And I had a record on this thing. I had about 1,500 shares on it. I have at least 10 tips that night, because it went out to the media at 5 o'clock, and social media. And within a couple hours, I had several tips. The next morning, a tip came in, said exactly where she was at that moment. And I was on the phone, and I get back to my computer, I'm like, it was 15 minutes ago, and I called the fugitive team, and what happened, this was great, the tipster actually called Crime Stoppers first, and then called 911 also, because it was, she's with me right now at McDonald's, we're walking out the door. So they were able to capture her right then. So Facebook for me is the best. But it all depends on how you use these things, and it's also can be time consuming too, but it's well worth it.
We've actually started boosting our posts on Facebook as well when there's something major going on. We had actually this was last September when we were at the Crime Stoppers USA conference in Albuquerque. It happened while we were, or right before we were down there. We had a shooting on the U of I campus, and Troy was able to boost that post. I mean, if you haven't used the boosting feature on Facebook yet, you can choose all kinds of demographics, age, all kinds of different things. And he was able to specifically set it the way he, wanted to target. And I believe that was successful for him. He'd have to tell you. I don't think he's here yet, but I believe that was successful for us for many, many, many tips. The other thing that we've done is just recently we did a Facebook Live video because we had a fundraiser last weekend that was, we were all drenched after that fundraiser. We did a shred event and a drug take-back day, and it was successful for the weather, for sure. But we were able to I went live on Facebook, and that has been huge for views on Facebook. It's something that they're putting in more feeds when, we've got a lot of likes on our page, but, not everybody sees your posts that likes your page because of the algorithms on Facebook. And so the Facebook Live videos have been really big for more views, more shares. And, we were able to explain our event in more detail, how it would work, because when we get on WCIA in the morning, it's our local TV station, you don't get much time. We got 2 minutes maybe to get out what we wanted to say. So that's been helpful for us. There's something else I was going to talk about. I think Facebook Live was the main thing, and then the boosting. So, and we have I think a schedule on Facebook is probably one of the main things that has helped us is, every Monday we're posting our crime of the week, and then throughout the week we've got scheduled things going on that page. So that's very helpful just because you can schedule that out for a month and then you don't have to touch it again, if you've got all that information. So that's been very helpful for us.
Well, and what you were talking about earlier too, something that I thought about is protecting the anonymity. Because Bill can tell you a couple years ago we dealt with, tip came in reference to a meth manufacturer, which was a problem for us in a rural community.
Can you use the microphone, please, sir?
Yeah. We had a tip come in reference to meth manufacturing. In a rural community like ours, we're dealing with the meth makers all the time. This tip turned out to pay off really well. We caught a decent-sized lab before it got up and running. There's going to be charges against the guy. He was on federal probation anyway, so he was going to be going away for a long time. The guy that we arrested, decently smart, educated, and him and his lawyers started to go not only after protecting their case, but after the Crime Stoppers information that led to his arrest. And it came with subpoenas to the Crime Stoppers board. And if you're out there thinking that there's protections with Crime Stoppers, to a point there is, but I can tell you from having to sit in front of a judge with the subpoena and with the tip information, they can subpoena you and you bring in that information in front of the judge for him to review. You better make sure you're doing whatever you can to protect that tip information and keep your tipster anonymous. Because if you lose that, then your program is going to go tank real quick, because nobody's going to believe that. That trust, once it's broken, you'll play hard to get it back. And in the case you talked about, tips off, scrubbing the phone lines, even for those of you who are taking the tip information, what I do, because most of the tips that come through me because of the size of our group. Not because I'm lazy, but I keep it as vague as I can. If you've ever seen one of my tips come in, they'll have that they're vague. It's they, there's no he, she, or anything. Nothing, I look it over before I hand it in, that it's vague. You'll play a hard time, except for the vital information, figuring out who called it in. Yes.
Scott Abrams with Crime Stoppers USA, Wisconsin State Crime Stoppers, every Crime Stoppers around. I'll be a little more adamant about what we just stated there. If y'all have a computer, you do, Google New Orleans Crime Stoppers. There's a recent case that happened down there. And what happened was they followed all the processes and procedures to get the tip through the process. They made the capture, they made the arrest, but there was some additional information they needed. And the tipster called back in, and guess what? The Crime Stoppers, according to the news reports that we have, directed him over to the investigating officer. Now you have the tipster and the investigating officer and giving his name freely to the investigating officer of what occurred. Crime Stoppers tried to quash that as well in the court system, and the judge at this point has said no. That name is now surfaced. We have that. He must come in and pay his respects to the court and provide that information as a paid quote witness because he got his Crime Stoppers tip already. Same situation happened recently in Eau Claire County Crime Stoppers in Wisconsin. And this is a little different because the Crime Stopper coordinator actually identified who the tipster was and then say, well, actually he's working as a confidential informant. Wanted to get a tip to the informant. And yeah, you shake your heads. Always check your policies and procedures of what you're doing because you have turnover, you have changes. And what he wanted to do, he wanted to go pick up the tip and then pay out the tipster himself. So, you know, huge big warnings. Of course, Judge Carter is working with them as well to try to resolve it. My point is, I know we all have policy procedures on how we accept tips, how we scrub our tips, and then how we pay that tipster. Always review them, at least like you were talking about on the bylaws and everything, annually or something along those lines, so you have someone that's overseeing that. So something like this doesn't occur. And then inform, do a little educational session inside your board meetings to bring that up and make sure you've washed that all out.
And he's right, and I can tell you, and we're going to go against time, but I can tell you in our situation, I was with the judge in chambers. The subpoena came in, and we were talking about somebody who's sitting in jail, waiting to be sentenced on a meth charge. Those of us know they got time on their hands, and they got nothing to lose by throwing out a bunch of paperwork towards it. And I'm in there with the judge, and he subpoenaed all Crime Stoppers tips that came in on this date. There were 2. So I walked up there. There's no tip numbers on them because I don't keep them on there except for payout purposes. And I walked up to the judge with them, and he took a look at them and reviewed them, and then handed both of them over to the defense. Fortunately, in our case, there was nothing in there that the defense could use to figure out who tipped him off. Because then they were going to challenge that person and challenge the information he gave and possibly, you know, get the case thrown out. We got lucky that we followed procedure like he said, and we had stuff built in for a situation like that. But don't get lackadaisical thinking that court stuff can't be used against Crime Stoppers because Crime Stoppers has done really well setting up a reputation. But there's always somebody looking to pull a thread. And they've got, in this guy's situation, he's doing a lot of federal time, and he got convicted. I'm not gonna see him back in my area until after I retire. But he tried, because he had nothing to lose, and neither did his attorney, by getting in there with the subpoenas. And a coordinator, if you do that job, and they're handing you subpoenas, you get that all the time as a police officer, but when they're handing a subpoena to you in reference to Crime Stoppers, and you're going to a board meeting, it gave us a little jolt, a little scare to get us to make sure we review our procedures when we go over it.
That's why I think it's so important to really take a hard look. I know it's money out, but really take a hard look at P3 or TipSoft, and then also the scrubbing of the calls. The scrubbing of the calls is very minimal. I mean, we get, I'd say we probably get about 100 to 200 phone calls a month in Champaign County, and the scrubbing of that is like $20. And that's through Northern Communications, or you can do that through Telecompute. So that's something that, I mean, that's very, very minimal charge. And then with P3 or TipSoft, you're looking at, I think it's probably around 12 to 1600 maybe. But that is the technology behind the web tips and the app or the texting. And I mean, that's for an entire year that annual fee is. And you know, you could get a corporation to sponsor that for you in your local community. And it is the cornerstone of our program, and it is the most important piece that you will spend your money on to keep everyone anonymous, because one of these stories like this makes all of us look bad. So that's why I do what I do for Crime Stoppers USA, because I want to make sure that everybody's, you know, using these items. So.
All right. Well, thank you all for giving us your insight. Michael had to step out to do a video conference, so I'm in charge. Our next speaker is Henry Cunningham, and he will be talking on elder abuse and scams that he's run into. So, Henry, if you want to come up and just say a few words about your background. Because Michael's got your bio.
Yeah, sure.
My name is Henry Cunningham. I am a detective with the Bolingbrook Police Department. I'm here today to talk to you about elderly scams. I'll add a little elderly abuse in there, but most of my presentation are about scams against the elderly. Now, just a brief thing about me before we get into my background. So this is the first time I've ever even done a PowerPoint. So my 13-year-old and 14-year-old helped me out a lot. I'm a Gen Xer, right? I'm not the millennial. So anything that's wrong or any misspellings, it's on them. And I listen. Okay. Also, I do speak in front of groups, and you'll see part of my presentation around 2013-14. I saw that there was a lot of scams going on with the seniors in our community, so I started meeting with certain groups. But when I talk to people, it's 5 or 10 people at a time. So this is the first time really I've ever spoken in front of a big group like this. So if I screw up, if I curse, if I say the wrong thing, blame my boss, he's in the front row. And I was a little nervous because the mayor was here, so my first presentation, the mayor's here, my boss is here, my mentor is here. So that's just a little bit about me. Detective Toomey there is going to try and, it's an interesting commercial that just came out about, I wanted to start my presentation with that, as I could not put it on my PowerPoint.
Is it the cure for malaria? A prince wants to give us $20 million. He just needs our social security numbers. We're gonna be The first spam was sent by a telegraph in 1864. Put some flavor in your drink. Make time for Snapple.
All right. So, scams have been going on a long time. And a lot of stuff I will talk to you about today.
What'd you say?
You're really going to think to yourself, man, who could fall for this? I'm going to tell you, your parents will fall for this. Okay? Some of you may fall for this. Some of you may have already fallen for it, but are too embarrassed to tell us about it. And that is the absolute truth. So I guess I didn't give you a background on me. Okay, everybody just wait. All right, a little bit about myself. I was raised in Bolingbrook, born in Chicago, raised in Bolingbrook, and went to school here, obviously. I'm the youngest of 7. My father was a World War II veteran. When I was 17 years old, I received a phone call at my house. A phone call was from a life insurance company telling me that we owed about $7,000 for my dad's new policy. My father was on all kinds of medications, and they made a phone call to him trying to sell him this policy. It comes in little quarters, you know how they always do the commercials. They have a guy from Jeopardy advertising it all the time. I don't want to say the company name. My dad didn't know what he was doing. And I'm youngest of 7, like I said, we didn't have that much money. About 9 months we had hired an attorney in order to get out of that. So it's sort of personal to me when I see seniors get scammed. And again, I can't tell you, it happens every single day, every single community, and everybody does it to them. Americans, foreigners, family members, it's a continual thing. I received my education in college, obviously college education, went to the academy, and I currently have about 22 years of service in the Bolingbrook Police Department. There you go. All right, looks like Dan has it up and going. And again, I'm a current detective for the police department, doing financial crimes. I sort of specialize, I guess, with elderly abuse, elderly scams, but we do have 2 full-time detectives just in the town size of Bolingbrook, just dedicated to financial crimes, and whenever we get overflowed, which is pretty much every week, other detectives will be assigned cases that we can't handle in our caseload. Okay, scams and frauds against the elderly. Right. Okay, again, a little bit about myself. Law enforcement for over 22 years. been a detective since the year 2000. Again, I didn't start out in financial crimes. Start out like most detectives, just burglaries, thefts, and such. The next one here, even my wife asked me. You can go back, Dan. If you can go back. There you go. Suffered an injury in 2006 and moved to financial crimes. My wife said, "Why did you put that in there? No one cares if you suffered an injury." I said, because I want everyone to know I am not insane. Okay? No one in law enforcement wants to do financial crimes. No one, right? So the year 2006, I wish I could tell you the injury was saving, 40 orphans in a burning building. I was carrying evidence. I slipped and fell. I broke my knee. Right? And so I'm at the desk, and they said, well, what can you do? I can't go to court. I can't go get charges on people. And they don't want to bring anyone in to interview. Hey, why don't you learn financial crimes? Hence, I already knew him, but my mentor came to me, explained to me, and taught me how to do financial crimes. After I was all better, all okay, tried to go back to, I was doing crimes against persons, batteries, robberies. They said, no. You did a great job, Henry. Financial crimes guy. So I became the financial crimes guy. So that's how come I put that out there. Again, like I briefly told you, about 2013, 14, I started noticing a lot of crimes for seniors. I started noticing the scam, and we'll get into that a little later, IRS scam. A lot of seniors trying to do their IRS, and they're getting phone calls telling them they owe money. I'm sure we've all heard that, right? You heard it on the news, it's pretty big. But it started around 2013, 2014. And so I went to the bosses and I said, hey, we got to do something. We got to do something about this. So that's when I started senior seminars. I started contacting senior groups. Believe it or not, I had a lot of resistance. Not from law enforcement angle, but from the senior group angle. Not the seniors themselves, they love to talk to me, but it was the people actually running the centers I was having problems with. And I still to today, I meet with 3 groups, and I'm still having problems meeting with the 4th group. I don't know what that's all about, but. Okay, now we're done. So who scams the elderly? First and foremost, their family. Hard to believe, huh? Their sons, their daughters, their nephews, their nieces, their cousins. As we all know, as people age, they start getting certain medical issues. They start depending on people. Even if they don't have dementia or Alzheimer's, they still depend on people to get them to where they need to go. A lot of times, that's not their actual children. That'll be their grandchildren or a nephew or niece. And why does that person always have time? Well, because usually that person has drug issues, they're not working, unemployed, they're unemployable. So they're the ones responsible for getting grandma or Aunt Katie or, Uncle John to the doctor, getting them to the store, and they're always asking for money. Can I get money here? Can I get money there? And obviously the senior is going to do that. They're being taken advantage of. Second group, friends and friends of family. Again, seniors living, a lot of seniors are established, they have a home, and believe it or not, their friends come on over to visit, they'll start taking things or borrowing things. Next thing you know, seniors' children come over to visit, I'm like, hey mom, where's the couch? And I mean, it's happened, So we start talking, and the seniors, well, Sally said she needed a couch, so I told her, you could borrow mine. Who borrows a couch, right? That's an actual case that happened with our department. I went over there, and that person even took their family photos. Who steals family photos, right? Who even has photos anymore, seniors, but, all right. Okay, organized American criminal organizations. Anyone here besides police? Anyone know about a criminal organization in America that preys on the elderly? AARP, that's good. That's good, there's a lot of scam. Anyone ever heard of gypsies? Yeah. I'm sure you guys have seen the show. We'll be going over that also. Gypsies, not one group, there's several groups. Prey on the elderly. They prey on the elderly. I'll be talking about that a little later. I will also interject stories as this goes. Like I said, I've never really done a PowerPoint. This is a little disturbing for me. All right, foreign organizations, criminal organizations. I'll ask again, anyone know a foreign criminal organization that targets the elderly? Okay, but do you know the organization? No, it's not Bank of America. No. Great people, Bank of America. They give me stuff for it. Did you know?
I don't know the name of the organization, but it's, I mean, they're foreign companies that call my mom's house, you know, with the, take this check and deposit it.
Absolutely, but it's not a company. That's a criminal organization. Anyone ever hear of the country Nigeria? Not all Nigerians. Okay, I have to say that. Nigeria, we support Nigeria. Our seniors, your moms, your dads, your aunts, your uncles. Because they steal from them all the time. We'll be getting into the Nigerian scams also. And I kid you not, I could spend a 40-hour class just on Nigerian crimes. That's how bad it is. Okay. Small groups from inside and outside the United States. I had to put this in here because, and I'm just going to go over a couple of things that I personally have experienced. With the IRS scams. I don't know if you guys, does anyone even read the newspaper anymore? Yeah. Sometimes they have some good stuff in there. One of the things that I found in the newspaper I didn't find on the internet was the IRS scams. 2 big arrests in the IRS scams. They were nationals from Cuba. One group working out of Florida, and they were hitting all the states around Illinois. And then one group out of New York, and they were hitting Illinois and the states around those states that they were hitting, that weren't hitting Illinois. So that was U.S. Postal Service did a great job on that, and Secret Service. So that's grouping inside. But also on the outside, one of the other groups that I've had personal, we've interviewed them, and we were lucky enough to get them. And you guys have heard of the skimmers that they put on ATM machines? So Bolingbrook was one of our banks. Skimmer put on the bank. We were notified by the bank. The skimmer was put on there about 3 in the morning. About 11 in the morning that day, Naperville found that car. Sure enough, we get the guys, we bring them in. They don't speak English. They were from Venezuela. Yeah. They were paid $4,000 a piece to come to the United States. They had these skimmers actually tooled in Mexico. There's an actual company in Mexico that says, what kind of ATM do you want? Right. Mexico doesn't help us with that. I don't know why. So during the interview, we found out they had only been in the United States for 48 hours. We started working with the Secret Service. They weren't even in for 48 hours. They were only here 36 hours. They already had $38,000 in cash. Wow. Already. And they were telling us, yeah, this was the last time we're in Illinois. We're going to Texas next month. It's getting a little hot. Right? So the bank reimburses, obviously, the customers. Meanwhile, these guys get away with it. I'm like, $38,000, you're not even here 2 days. Cash, and that's the cash. And that's what we caught these 2 with, not the other 2 that were here. We never caught them. I just want to say sometimes, not my bosses, but sometimes bosses from other departments will not let us in their jurisdiction to go arrest these people. So, but we do work a lot with the U.S. Postal Service. We work a lot with the Secret Service. We work with the FBI. FBI is a little tougher. You have to have higher amounts. Usually when we get the case, we're only at a couple $100,000. But the FBI, you have to be in the couple million to tens of millions for them to step in, you know, because it's all about Channel 5 News. Okay. Why are the elderly targeted? Well, because the elderly are established. They're usually living somewhere. And America has this great thing. It's called Social Security. Right? Social Security. We all think about Social Security, but to someone in Nigeria, $600 a month. I'm not on Social Security, so you might get more. I don't know. But that's a lot of money. And so that's why they target them. They know they have money. They know that they're most likely living somewhere. And if they're so poor as that they won't fall for the scam because they know they don't have the money, well, we just go on to the next senior. Because they're not just calling one person, they're calling millions of people all the time, millions. Most seniors are law-abiding, and they trust the government. Big thing today, right? Trust the government. So when someone calls and says, I'm the IRS, you owe $500, you know, I hang up the phone. My kids will laugh, you know, they're like, what are you kidding me? You know, but a senior? No way, man, they don't want to go to jail. I'm 70 years old, what am I going to do? That's the only thing they're thinking about. So off to the store they go, getting a money card, you know, we've all heard of those vanilla cash cards, credit cards. And they're sending the money to Nigeria. So, all right. Okay, they got the steady or the fixed income, like I said, Social Security, or some of them still have pensions. Some seniors still have pensions, and they have money coming in. Now, I'm just going to tell you, a lot of these organizations, like I said, they don't necessarily know everything about you. They know a lot about you, but most of the stuff they'll get from you by talking to them on the phone. All right, seniors keep large amounts of cash in their home. I know people in my generation that keep large amounts of cash in their home. There are people in this room who keep large amounts of cash in your home. Do not keep large amounts of cash in your home. It will get out. And even if it doesn't get out, they may get in your home. And when they get in your home, that cash is gone. Because one thing about humans is we really are all the same. And again, speaking with gypsies and interviewing gypsies who do a lot of burglaries, they look in the same place every time they go into someone's house. They find large amounts of cash in the same places in people's houses. Before I was a police officer, I never heard of someone hiding cash in a freezer. People hide cash in the freezer all the time. People who are 80, 90 years old hide cash in the freezer. Because who would think of doing that, right? Gypsies would think of doing that. And they do it, they check all the time. So, that's the reason. And if they're really lucky, and I'm talking about the scammers, they will contact the senior who has some type of mental disability. Either the beginnings of dementia, or the beginnings of Alzheimer's. And they do not care. They can care less. And they will take you for everything you got. Working on a case now, if you get into it, mother suffering beginning stages of dementia, Jamaican scammers, $175,000, 4 months. 4 months. The banks didn't say anything. The Western Union women didn't say anything when they were taking the money. The MoneyGram people didn't say anything. And the Walmart people didn't say anything. This woman went to 4 different communities continually for 4 months. At 86 years old, sending over $5,000 at a time. Okay, so, and I don't think she knows anyone in Nigeria. When I interviewed her, she said, I said, now don't fall for this anymore, okay? She goes, well, I can't tell you that. Because they had convinced her she won some type of lottery. Okay. Nigerian scams. Real quick, let me just tell you a quick story. Am I doing that time, boss? 50 minutes? Yeah. Okay, not bad. All right. So, in law enforcement, I know we are extremely well paid. All right, good luck, good luck. All right. So all of us have second jobs. All of us. Except for some bosses, though. Some bosses do. So, on a security job, speaking with a young man, had to be about 23 years old, thick accent. I said, where are you from? He says, Nigeria. I said, get out of here. What an opportunity for me, right? Here I am in the security detail at Walmart, and I get to talk to somebody from Nigeria. And here's what he told me. He said, you know, you can only apply to come to America if you have a relative here, or if you're like a genius. He wasn't a genius, he worked for Coca-Cola. So, like I'm one guy, right? His uncle and aunt were here, and they're both biochemists. So he applied, and he got accepted because he worked for Coca-Cola. He was an honest person. So I asked him, I said, hey, you know, there's a lot of scams going on. He goes, yeah. And I said, how the heck does that work? And here's what he told me. At 16 years old, the most most of us would give our daughters or sons a big birthday, right? 16, hey, you could drive. Go get me some milk, right? 16 years old, their parents buy their kids laptops, now tablets. And then they go down the street to the coffee shops, which don't serve coffee, and they work for the local, mafioso, whatever you want to call them, organized crime guy. And that's how they start making money. And there are rows and rows of teenagers all the way up through 30, 40 years old, people working for these guys, and their only job is to get an American or someone in Britain online to scam them out of their money. Why do they choose Americans? It's because of our banking system. Has anyone here been overseas? A lot? Large amounts of money overseas? No? Transfer? Usually it takes you 3 or 4 days before you get anything. Sometimes weeks in certain countries, not in America. In America, it's like, we gotta have everything now. That's how come all these people get scammed. It's because our fast-paced society. At least that's what they tell me, because I don't make that much money to fly around the world. All right. So, this is how these scammers work, especially Nigerians. They'll tell you an elaborate or fake story about large amounts of money trapped. Central banks, during civil wars or coups, often in countries in the news, like Afghanistan or Iraq. We've had a bunch of younger women falling for the Iraq-Afghanistan scam, where they'll meet someone on a dating line. The guy has a thick Nigerian accent, and they really believe he's a rear admiral stuck in Afghanistan because his checks were canceled because of some IRS screw up. And these women want to believe so much, they send money. And they send a lot of money. Right? They send tens of thousands of dollars. So, it's almost the more elaborate the story, the more they fall for it. You know? And one thing, when I was on the street, I told some kid that we were watching him. I had an informant tell me that he was selling drugs. I said, we've been watching you with the satellite. Within 10 minutes, I had the kid confessing, showing me all the money he made, where he hid the dope. And I told him some crazy story, like being watched by satellites. So it is, the more I read the story, man, people believe it. All right, we also talk about large inheritance, difficult to access because of government restrictions, taxes in their country. So basically, they say, hey, I got $1 million coming in. You give me $10,000, I'll give you $250,000 of it, because I need to pay the taxes. If you do give them the $10,000, their next thing is, hey, I need another $5,000. You would not believe how many people then send $5,000. I would say it's got to be worth 90% of them. Okay. All right, and then the scammers, they may contact you by email, letter, text message, social networking messages. These smartphones are really going to be a pain in the butt in the next 10 years. Also offer you a large sum of money to help them transfer personal fortune out of their country. And that's what I was telling you about. $200,000 for 10 months. Yeah, it's great. Especially if you're a senior and you're retired and you're on a fixed income. Oh, I hit the jackpot. Okay. So the scams of Nigerians, and you'll hear this all the time, media always does this, all the 419 scams, whenever I do see it, and I rarely see it. It's so funny, we're worried about how much the Mexican immigrant is sending back. I just read a huge article about this first 3 months, these people from Mexico sent $2 billion to Mexico. Heck, there's been $2 billion stolen from Nigerians in the first month of this year. You don't hear anything about it. Anyway, they call them 419 scams. The reason they're called 419 is because that is the criminal code in Nigeria. Now, if any of you are inclined, you can go on YouTube and look up 419 code rap songs. These Nigerian groups, because when you get a lot of money, what's the next thing? You have to become a rap star, right? And they sing in English, about how they're ripping us off. Dumb American, I'm taking your money. They don't actually say dumb, they say a lot of other words. All right, so the first one obviously was like the Snapple one, the Prince or the lottery scam. And you get on a lottery scam more with the Jamaicans because they're more prevalent in it. But that's like the oldest one, the princess on the internet. You used to hear that stuff, and I used to giggle about it too in the 90s. Well, she said she was a princess, and she's trying to get out of her country. And who falls for that? Well, we'll all fall for it eventually. All right, fake charities. They impersonate real charities. So you'll get something from Red Cross because you'll hear about a big flood, like what's going on now. You'll be like, what the heck? Today's my day, I'm gonna give $5. But remind you, they're not sending it just to you, they send out 20 million of those. So you only send $5, but it's not the Red Cross because it's being sent back to Nigeria, most likely through Canada or through Great Britain. Also, they create fake charities for natural disasters. Hurricane Katrina was a big one, and we had a lot of them during Katrina and 9/11. A lot of people thought they were sending a lot of stuff to 9/11. There was a lot of media reports about it, but they never told anyone that it was foreigners that were doing it. Everyone just thought it was Americans doing it. Most of those were done by foreigners. Not that we're not catching up, because we are catching up. Okay, fake jobs, buying or selling. So over the last few years, I guess it was about 10 years ago, we had an employment problem in our country. Anyone remember that? A lot of people losing work. So far be it from Nigerians to pass up an opportunity, right? So what they started doing is, everyone heard of, like, you know, job website, sponsor.com. What they started doing was saying, hey, they started putting up, you want an easy job? All you have to do is receive this package, ship it out. Easy enough, right? We'll pay you $5,000 a month. Easy enough, people are all happy. I can't even tell you how many in the last 10 years I've had of these. I mean, it's too many to count, too many cases. So what happens is, they send you a fake check. You take that check and you go to your bank, because you're like, I won't talk to this guy on the internet. The bank will tell me it's a real check. You give it to the bank, the only thing the bank checks, they don't check who the sender is, they don't check anything, they check those bottom numbers. Is the routing number good? Routing number is where it's going to go to be certified. And is the account number good? They don't check how much is in that account. They say, well, it's a good check, sir. Okay. So they cash the fake check. They'll use that money for two separate things. One thing, they'll send you a check, they'll say, okay, so your $5,000 is here, and the reason I gave you $7,500 is because you use the other $2,500 to send the package to where it needs to go, and then any extra money you have, you need to deposit in this account. So that's what the person does. Next thing you know, next couple of days, that person gets 4 or 5 packages, they send them out, maybe 40, 50 bucks. Then they take the rest of the money, they put it in whatever account they were given. Then they find out about a week later, the check was fake. They're out $2,500. You understand how that works, everybody? So, then they call us, they say, oh, we track the account, we find out that money was immediately transferred from that bank account into Canada, down to Jamaica, over to Nigeria. And there's nothing we can do about it, especially for $2,500. The government's not going to follow that. A lot of that also was the secret shoppers. Has anyone gotten secret shoppers stuff? Any women? Women especially, yeah. My daughter, 13 years old, she got a secret shopper. I'm not saying that those are all illegitimate, but I wouldn't do it. Yeah, it's probably that one. All right, jobs and investments. Okay, so this is strictly to get your personal information. They'll offer you a job, they'll give you an application. There will be misspellings all over this application. The name will probably be spelled wrong. All they're trying to do is get your information. Once they get your information, they Google you, they go into every bank there possibly can be. They find out where your accounts are, they change your passwords, they get all your money. Sometimes you won't know for months. Also, a lot of times, they'll just hold on to that information. And that's a big thing. They'll hold on to the information, so you've been scanned, and then they hold on to it for, maybe a year and try again in a year and see where you're at then. Threats and extortion. We've heard a lot of this lately. They hack company computers, and they say, okay, you're going to pay me $20,000, or I'm not going to let you into your medical files. And that's mostly Nigerians who are doing that. Again, our government doesn't really talk too much about who's actually doing it. That's who's doing it. Some of them are here. Some Nigerians are in America. Most of them are overseas. The big bosses are overseas. All right. Oh yeah, the dating, the romance. This is like I was telling you about, like the Rear Admiral. and this happens women and men, but mostly women with the Nigerians. Gypsies are mostly men on the dating scam. So the woman goes on the internet, Match.com, and I'm going to be doing this on another slide. The first thing the person asks them is to go to a private chat room, and they start in. And again, it's always unreasonable, crazy stuff. Guy with an accent, how did I fall for it? They're just looking for companionship, and they end up sending thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay, so statistics. Always reminds me of my favorite movie, The Anchorman. Anyone ever see The Anchorman? Right? Remember that scene where the guy goes 60% of the time? It works every time. So that's what I think about statistics, but I figured I'd throw them in there anyway. For the 419 scams, females 52%, males 45%, gender X 1.8%. Gender X. Not one person. What is gender X? Anyone? Does anyone know? I didn't know either. Information. Okay, can you go back down real quick? Okay, delivery method. The phone. That's how they contact a lot of people on the phone. Email, internet, texting. That's where it's going to really start getting tough for us, because the phones just do not keep that information for a long period of time. U.S. mail, they're still using the mail. Just so you know, on the 419 schemes, our biggest experts are the U.S. mail, the postal inspectors. Believe me, I was shocked when I found out they even had postal inspectors. When I got hired in the 90s, those guys are on it. They are like the experts in Nigerian scams. So all props to them. Social networking and in person, 1.30%. Those are those, you see Brian Hansen. So we confronted the scammer, and he's in Nigeria. Right? Those are those. So those, we rarely get that. Okay, self-admitted gypsies and their scams. At this point, I need to tell you, not all gypsies are criminals. Not all gypsies are criminals. The gypsies I deal with are criminals. That's why I'm dealing with them. Okay, so I got the picture there of the typical impression we all have of gypsies, with the crystal ball. Yeah. And then right below there, my kids. All of them millennials, snowflakes. Can you go back there? Okay. I got some more to say about that bottom picture. No. There you go. This is my mentor, people. Okay. Finally. At work, I crack them up all the time. Okay, so gypsies, on the bottom picture there, anyone recognize that TV show? My Big Fat Gypsy Wedding? Just take a look at that show. While you're watching the entire show, know that the only way those people got money was stealing from elderly people. None of them were. None of those girls there could probably even read, because they don't allow their women to read. And if they can read, it's very minimal. I have a story at the end. Look how beautiful they look. I mean, you know how long they had to shop to find those people? I'm not even sure if they're real gypsies. Okay. First, the history of gypsies. Oh, yeah. He keeps falling asleep. All right. The religion of gypsies. Okay. I learned this in class, obviously, learning about gypsies, but I've also interviewed a lot of gypsies, and we've had some huge gypsy cases in Bolingbrook, which made the media, but the FBI took credit. Yeah, it's a big shocker there, right? So the religion, it's Christian-based religion. Okay, anyone know the gypsy? No? Okay. So, they believe when Jesus was being put on the cross, there were 4 golden spikes. 4. 2 for his hands, 1 for his feet, the 4th one to go into the heart. A gypsy child snuck in and stole that 4th spike. So Jesus wasn't killed, and therefore he was able to be resurrected 3 days later. Whether it's true or not, I do not know. But they believe it. They believe that God, then, after Jesus ascended, They believe God came and spoke to the chieftain of the gypsies. And because they had spared Jesus this pain from his fourth spike, he has given them carte blanche to steal. Oh my God. They believe it. I'm telling you, they believe it. I spoke with a Chicago police officer. He's retired now. I'm sure the statute of limitations are over. He used to carry a spike that he sprayed, railroad spike that he spray painted gold. Whenever he had a gypsy scam, he'd throw it on the table. And he said, those guys would crawl under the table. They would get shot. Because they really believe in that. And I'm not saying it's not real, so. Gen X, like I said. All right, so the origin. Anyone know where gypsies are from? So we have a lot of groups of gypsies. Gypsies originally, they say originally, out of Egypt. That's right, gypsy. Egypt, they went into the Eastern Europe, and it went from the Egyptians to gypsy. Okay, different type of gypsies. This is the Romani, the American gypsy. This is the one that we see all the time here in Bolingbrook, all the time. Most common. So I'm going to read this because I just didn't feel like typing all this out. These are the type of cons that they do. Seal coaters, where they put the fake seal coat on your driveway. A couple of them do that. Roofers, fortune tellers. They're the auto body repair scam. You know, you go in to get a new battery and they give you a broken battery. Love it. The ruse entry burglaries. We'll talk about that later. That is a big, big crime against the elderly. Medical insurance fraud, death benefit fraud, and public aid fraud and sweetheart swindles. Like I told you, we get a lot of that. The next group is the Yugoslavian gypsies. They do store diversion burglaries, shoplifting. And when I say shoplifting, I don't mean like a pair of pants. I mean that whole aisle. They take that whole aisle. Yeah. Public aid fraud. So the youth of that clan, they're getting into a lot of gang violence and such. The one case I had with the Yugoslavian was he was doing like, and the thing is, they work off of other scams, right? They find ways to branch off, like I'm going to do something new with this scam. This guy had convinced a DJ that he could get him a bunch of gigs, and convinced them to give him his credit card. The DJ said, no, I have like 5,000 credit on there, or 5,000 balance. And I can't. Just don't worry, I'll take care of your balance. I'll pay your balance, and then you buy the phones that we need, because they needed 7 iPhones. So he literally takes them into Chase Bank, makes a phone call, and he uses a good bank number, says transfer $5,000. The kid is standing in Chase Bank, his bank, looks at his phone, I have it on video. Okay, we're good. It cleared, but it's just a scam. No money was paid. He went out and bought him 7 iPhones, the guy disappeared. Kid was smart though, because this guy was a Gen Xer and this kid was a millennial. And he put trackers on those phones. That's how we found him. So, all right. The Travelers, next group. You guys may have heard them. There was a movie out there. Some famous actor did it, Irish Travelers. You've heard it. I think it's a slur on the Irish. All right. Because we don't work in the sun. What are they kidding us? All right. So their biggest thing is paving scams and driveway scams. They put the fake black tar down. And then, it rains the next day and it all just goes right into the sewer. They tell the senior citizen, hey, we'll do your driveway for $40 because it's $10 cheaper than everyone else. When the senior comes out with a check to pay, because they still paying checks, the guy says, yeah, make it out to me. And the guy goes, $40? No, I said $40 every 10 feet. And the guy's like, no, you didn't. He's talking, the guy's a foot taller than him, and his 2 buddies come up behind the senior citizen. Yes, you did. You better pay me my money. Guy writes it out. Before the elderly person can notify the police, they've already cashed that check and are in the way. So that's what happens. They also do, believe it or not, mobile home sales, shoplifting again, refunding. They're big on refunding. So they're the ones that'll steal the stuff and then they'll return it. Like, oh, come on. It's like a double whack. All right. The Polish gypsies, residential burglary, and when I say residential burglary, I don't mean they're skulking around at night. They will walk up to your front door in the daytime. If you do not answer your door, they will kick it in. So they do shoplifting, and they're also the short change artists. You guys heard of that, right? Short changing? You're at the register. Those are the guys, man. And they're good at it. Very good. All right, the last one is the Romanian nationals. And we've been having a lot of problems with these guys. Their big thing lately has been the ATM skimmers. Okay? And they're really good about it. They put the skimmers in like convenience stores, 7-Elevens, gas stations, but they're only putting them in places where there's no video showing on that ATM. And there's a lot of ATMs that don't have video. So they're just putting them on very, very good. But we caught them, but I mean, they were good. The problem was they didn't realize there were cameras in the rest of the building. So we just saw them and we recognized them. All right, so the self-admitted gypsies and their scams. All right, the fake construction worker, ruse burglary. This is the Romanian gypsies. A lot of Bolingbrook residents have fallen for this, and a lot of residents in your area have fallen for this. It is a big scam, and here's how it works. A gypsy will pull up in front of the house. He will get out. He'll look like this young man here, right? The helmet, the gloves. I couldn't find one with a vest. The work belt, right? They'll go up to the front door. Oh, Mr. Johnson, how you doing? Mr. Johnson will say, great. Say, hey, we're doing work in the back for your neighbor, and we need to know where the property line is. So Mr. Johnson says, yeah, not a problem. He gets out of the house. They walk around, and the whole time they walk around, the guy's asking them, now where's your property in here? Meanwhile, the buddies get out of the car, they're in the house. And they're going through the house. And like I told you before, the hiding places are always the same, right? And they're hitting them, and they steal everything. And before the gentleman, and they don't make a mess, right? So they're gone hours before the police are notified. We actually had a group doing this. We worked with Lake County Sheriff's Police, Cook County Sheriff's Police, had a tracker on their car. In one day, just in our community, 600 miles they put on their car, just trying to find elderly people. And you know what they were looking for? Well-manicured lawns, because they have the most money. They have time to do it, right? And they'll sit outside the house and watch. They'll mark down the addresses. They'll come back at a later date to watch to see who's coming and going, get the times when they're coming and going, do the children visit, when do the kids get out of school, they know all that stuff. And it pays off in the long run. Okay. Okay, driveway scams, home improvement scams, those are like the active travelers I was telling you about, how they sort of threaten the elderly citizen. And what they put down is, I don't even know what it's called. It's just like this black muck. And I'm not kidding you. I've been there. When it starts raining, they call us like, I got scammed. And we literally see the black stuff going down into the sewers. I mean, it's bad. But the relative arrested scam. This is done by phone. Typically, the Yugoslavian gypsies started this. But now we even have inmates at Cook County doing it. One of them called my brother John, said, Dad, my brother John's retired. I told you I was youngest of 7. He's retired. He said, Dad, I'm in jail. He's like, who is this? It's Jim. You're in jail? What are you doing in jail? I'm in Cook County jail. I need you to send me money. My brother's going to send money. Funny thing is, Jim is a police officer in New Orleans. But he's going to send money, my own brother. Finally got to say, what are you, stupid? Finally, first time in my life. So, he called me. I told him it's a scam. We track it back. Cook County, in the jail, they're making calls, doing this. That's crazy. All right, so that's usually done by phone. And again, they'll hit a senior citizen, which again, don't tell my brother John, I said he's a senior citizen. They get senior citizens, and then, it's usually muffled. They will know everything about your child. Because it's easy. Because all you have to do is Google. That's right, Google. Wonderful instrument. All right, so I added the tree scam because this is a great scam. Okay. I was worried I was going to make time. That was my big thing. They were like, what are you kidding me? You just yak all the time, right? They say yak at my work. All right, so tree scam, great scam. I only say it's great because I wasn't a victim, but I would have been. So me and the wife, we buy a house, and we don't have children yet. I like to fish, so we went to Wisconsin to fish. Come back, my entire neighborhood has trees. What the heck? You know, I wear the bums, right? Wear the bums on the street. Bad enough I'm working 2 jobs. I can't afford a damn tree. Everybody's got a tree. You know. About a week later, my neighbor's out there, and I just hear him cussing. And he's a, I forget what union he's in, but he does like elevators. You know, just a hard old guy. You know, moved out of Berlin to come to the suburbs. You know? And he is teed off. I wasn't gonna say teed off, but he's teed off. And he's like, "Can you believe this Henry son of a..." And he rips the tree right out of the ground. What the heck? Yeah, unbelievable scam. So I'm looking down the street. All these trees are dead. I mean, these are like 8-foot trees. All of them dead. Everybody's coming out. He's knocking on doors, yelling. And they're yelling, and they're yelling, and they're yelling. We're just sitting out there just amazed. We dig up where they had planted the tree. Well, here's what happened. These guys show up with a pickup truck and about, 30, 40 trees. And it wasn't just my neighborhood. Word is they made about $100,000 that weekend. Man, a lot of trees. They were selling trees for $100 to $200 a piece, depending if you wanted oak or pine. And my neighbor got oak. So the scam was, I know I laugh. The scam was they went to the forest preserve, climbed up some trees and cut the long branches off. Wrapped them in sacks filled with paper.
Oh my God.
My neighbor's telling me, I felt bad for this guy. I was like, but I figured I'd pay him $200 because he's cheap too. Always come over to have a beer. And he's like, these guys are dragging this stuff. They're sweating it. Planting the trees, putting the stakes down on the ground. They were all branches. All the trees died. It was an unbelievable scam. And yeah, I giggled out in front of them. But, and I'm glad because I'm telling you, I would have fallen for it because, they don't come any cheaper than me, I'm telling you. Okay. That's a real gypsy. So yeah, they're not in pink dresses. She was arrested in Bolingbrook. One of our patrolmen, heads up guy, a lot of our patrolmen obviously know about gypsies. Pulls her over, she's driving a little erratically. Look at the size of that ear, huh? I mean, you can always, through the whole interview, I'm just staring at that thing, So during the interview, sorry, now you can't get your eyes off it, right? Dan, you're ruining my finale on Gypsies. You're ruining it. Go back. There you go. You're ruining my finale. All right, one more. Go back one more. There you go. So, she gets pulled over. Yeah, please. Keeps everybody awake. Hey. So they're in, he makes a traffic stop. She keeps driving, right? Because she's a gypsy and she's been in jail before. She knows how the police work. She's going to park her car in a legal parking spot so we don't tow it. As soon as he gets her, he knows she's a gypsy. Good officer. Locates the drugs. We take the car, search the car, start finding gold coins, gold bracelets, just thrown in the car. I mean, it's not even set. Like, if you have a $2,000 gold coin, it's not going to be in the back under a sock, right? That's how they are. They just throw it in there, stuff all over the car, drugs all over the car. Me and another detective, Detective Yankee, sergeant now, we start interviewing her. We don't tell her we know she's a gypsy. And let me tell you, gypsies have answers for anything. So now we get to play, right? Because we know she's not going to confess anything. But we're going to try and find out as much about her as we can. We start making up stuff. What's that blue liquid in the back of your car? She had an answer. There was no blue liquid in the back of her car. We're like, is that a gold bar that we found in the glove compartment? She looked a little upset about that. Like, who's holding out on me? Stuff like that. Hey, you had 30 tens wrapped in a rubber band. What is that about? There's not tens in the car. They don't leave cash like that. But we knew because she was older and she was driving that she was probably, maybe if not the leader of this group, because men are always the leaders. They don't have an equal employment thing there. But we knew that she had to have some significance in this family because she's driving. Finally, after about a half hour, and I was just about to go into my satellite mode, that we were watching her from satellite, she says, well, you guys know I'm a gypsy. And we're like, no, you were a gypsy, get out of here. And see the tooth? You want to ask about the dental plan, you know? So, then she starts telling us, I don't know, and they're always, I'm my child. My baby grandchild's in the hospital right now. I'm my child. I did not steal anything. And they always do that. They have every answer, everything. So she starts telling us a little bit about her group. Her husband got locked up. He's the leader. But since he got locked up, she sort of is controlling the family right now. And telling us, well, we're like, well, how come your daughter-in-law or your daughter said, well, they can't read. We're gypsies. We take them out of school about 3rd grade. So she starts telling me her certain group, because they don't want the women to leave the group because they're connected. I tell you, they're the original organized crime family. And these are the criminal gypsies. Okay, next slide. So like I told you in the beginning, not all gypsies are criminals. Now, Charlie Chaplin was a gypsy. Anyone know that? I didn't either. Bill Brenner, Westworld. Wasn't he also Pharaoh or something? Pharaoh? Again, 10 Commandments, wasn't that him? Okay. And then, I don't know any boxing fans, but this guy just beat Klitschko probably last year. Anyone know who Klitschko is? Anyone boxing fans? What the heck? Klitschko, the hammer from Czechoslovakia. The guy's just an awesome fighter. Yeah, so this guy gets on and he starts talking about, we're Irish travelers, and they take everyone to the community, everyone's happy. They're criminals. They're celebrating it, but this guy can box, So yeah, they're not all criminals. I mean, he may have been a criminal, but he won that one fair and square. I agreed with the judges. Okay. ID theft? How much time do I have? All right, I'm just going to go through this real quick if y'all, just got to go through ID theft. Go ahead. So ID theft, biggest crime in America right now. Keep going. I had to do some definitions. Now he's going back for that. I'm sorry. Okay, it's simply someone using information gained through credit goods, knowledge without consent. This is what you need to do identity theft. A social security number, driver's license, date of birth, home work address, or legal name. If anyone in this room thinks that I can't get that in the next 10 seconds on the computer, you're wrong. If you own a home, it's all on the internet, right? If you own a car, it's all on the internet. If you deal with a bank, it's all on the internet. Check your stuff at least quarterly. You get free checks. Back in the day, they used to do it through online purchases. This is how they'd steal your information. So they go through your garbage and through your mail when you leave the mail slot up, right? They go through that. They don't do that as much anymore. Now it's mostly business breaches. We all heard about the Target. I bought one thing there that year. Someone rolled out one for my daughter. One purchase, and they got my number. So medical facilities, and I'm sure everybody's happy the IRS now has all your medical information. They breached also last year. The IRS. Yeah. And then restaurants, banks, and the penguin has nothing to do. I just thought that was a real cool picture. All right. So these are the contact numbers. If you want, use your smartphone, click it. The Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. I suggest everyone in this room that you tell all your family members and your children and your grandchildren. The biggest group coming up with identity theft are children. They start getting jobs at 18 and 19. And they're like, hey, someone's been using my credit for the last 10 years. Some of it's good credit scores, Most of it's family. Check the children's credit score. You can do it through TransUnion. You get 3 checks free a year. So that's me and the wife do. We check them up. Yeah. That's right. That's how I go. Okay. Telephone scans. A lot of these scans are done by telephone. My kid did that. I didn't do it. Obviously, the IRS scan, I already explained that to you. Grandchild in jail, that's a big phone one. Paying a lender mortgage, life insurance, I explained to you about my father. That was supposed to come here, but someone didn't have the setup in time. So, and then tech support, they call you and say, hey, your computer's broken. Do you like that bouncing? Bank credit card. They call this a great scam. They were doing it in Vegas when I was there. While you're checking into Vegas, the guy would be standing next to you. He'd just hit your name. You give, for check-in, you'd go up to your room. He'd wait for you to go up to your room, then he'd call you on the public line. Mr. Cunningham, this is the front desk. Something happened with your credit card. Can you give me that number again? Great scam, right? It didn't happen to me. Could have, I would have fallen for it, Okay, Jamaica ticket scams, like I told you, big on the lottery scams, big on you want a prize scam, you need to send money. On-street scratch-offs. People walk up, this is a lot of with the illegal immigrants or undocumented, whatever. They walk up to a legal person, say, man, I just won $1 million. I'll give you $250,000. You know, and then the people are like, okay, but we need $10,000. And they will go with this fake card and give them $10,000. They lose money. Sweetheart scams, you like those pictures? Dating websites, obviously I told you. My biggest one, she lost $160,000 on ChristianMingle.com. Yeah, even if I could find the guy, which there was no way I could, he had convinced her he opened up a gold mine. That's what it was, a gold mine. And we tracked it back, it was Nigerian. He convinced her he opened up a gold mine because she had told him through texting over 6 months of text before he asked her for money. She had told him that she liked that gold rush. So he convinced her that he was gold mine. Match.com. Assisted living, you get a lot of abuse here also with assisted living, obviously. And a lot of abuse is just neglect, where they just leave them. Maid services also. Assisted living and maid services, we see a lot of that where they're a gypsy or some type of organized group, and they work their way in. Lesser known scams, counterfeit prescription drugs. Has anyone heard of the Silk Road? Did you guys hear about that? Millennial, he thought he was a genius, called this thing the Silk Road, you know, from Marco Polo. And but he was selling illegal drugs, and a lot of seniors went there to get prescription drugs because they were cheap. Unfortunately, they were all Tylenol. Okay. So funeral cemetery scams, scammer reads obituary, then they go to see the widow or the widower. They tell them, and they're very convincing, hey, they left a debt, you need to pay this. And they end up paying it. Fraudulent anti-aging products, we all fall for that. Okay, real quick, I just want to go through this. This is Michael Smith case. I'm going to do this real quick. I know I got to wrap up. I was worried about Nathan, right? Okay. So this is actually where Crime Stoppers help me. Good job, man. Okay, so I received an anonymous phone call at my desk. Possible senior being scammed. That wasn't mine. All right, Michael Smith, he's a 64-year-old male. His name is not Michael Smith. Worked in jail for approximately 40 years as a stalker. Michael has an intellectual disability, but he's never diagnosed because his parents felt if they diagnose him, they'll track him in school, and he'll never be able to work. Michael lived with his parents his entire life until they both passed. He moved in with his older sister and his niece and also her husband, but he died soon after the husband. He seemed to be the rock of the family. So I go to the house and I interview Michael and his family. I realize immediately something's wrong. I'm talking to the niece and to the sister, and they're acting like they don't even know who Michael is. Right? So there's some other family members there, some friends. Before I leave, we have Crime Stoppers cards. I start handing them out. Hey, you guys, get some money. If this happened, if something's going on, you guys need to contact me through Crime Stoppers. So I hand out the Crime Stoppers. The next morning, I received a phone call from a family friend. So they didn't do the Crime Stoppers, they called me, but you guys help me anyway. That's the way I look at it. All right. And I wanted to... All right, so she calls me, tells me, hey, I think the niece is scamming them. So the victim had a savings and checking account IRA. He had no bills, right? He had really nothing. His IRA exceeded $200,000 at one point. Discovered his niece with his debit card when I was interviewing her. Brought the niece in for an interview. My sergeant right here in the front row interviewed her. She's 35-year-old, single female, unemployed for the last 2 years. She handles all the house bills for her elderly mother and Michael. Discovered she had plans to vacation at Punta Cana with her girlfriend. Girlfriend was unemployed for the last 5 years. They're going to Punta Cana. And they had a suite. Okay? She told detectives, obviously, that Michael helped paying the bills because now she knows the jig is up. I got her with the credit card. So I have to subpoena stuff. That's bank accounts, financial records, house bills, and mortgage at home. Discovered the mortgage was a year behind. They were $3,000, over $3,000 late in monthly bills like electric, cable. The checking account and saving account were at minimum. Michael, the year before, had over $20,000 in his savings account. $125,000 was removed from Michael's IRA. He still hadn't paid the fines for removing that early. And only because he didn't fill out the paperwork, otherwise he could have removed it. Family friend removes Michael from the home. That's a family friend who called it in and said, hey, this is a possible crime here. So we finally locate them in Naperville. And then Michael says, yeah, I don't want to press charges because now I have all the information for the banks. And that usually takes about anywhere from a month to 6 months to get that type of information. Okay. Michael wishes to pursue charges. Detective finds family friend also stealing from Michael. So the woman who called it in now is stealing from him also. She got about 17 grand before we caught him. I get in contact with Cook County Senior Services who placed Michael, and we get him someone to watch over him. He's placed into housing advocate to watch over his property. I pursued with charges against the Neeson family. I re-interview Michael just before we're about to go. Okay. And then Michael tells me he spoke with his sister and said, our father would roll over in his grave if he knew you were prosecuting your niece. Michael refused to press charges. Just to let you know, a little follow-up, niece's trip to Punta Cana was canceled because I was standing at the airport. Michael attempted to get his job back with Jewel. He's still attempting to move in with his sister. And believe it or not, Michael calls me every Thanksgiving and Christmas, wishing me a happy holiday. All right, folks. Sorry I went over a little bit. You guys have a great day. And thank you for everything you did. Any questions?
I'll try to keep it very brief. Sure. Identity theft. What are your feelings on? We hear a lot of advertisements, LifeLock, others.
Yeah.
I posed the same question just the other night to a University of Illinois computer science professor who works in this area, and she had an interesting response. I'd be curious yours.
Okay, I don't do it personally. Just like I said, I told you before I'm chief, I just can't do it. I do know a lot of officers who do it. The thing is, they're going to notify you once you've been a victim.
Right.
So if you keep track on your stuff, and again, they go after seniors because millennials check their stuff like every day. I don't know. If you guys have any grandchildren, kids that young, you'll see it's crazy. I'm not that concerned. Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you.